Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be taking you through my eyeshadow palette collection. I'm not going to be going into a deep review of any of these eyeshadow palettes. I just kind of want to show you what I have yeah, kind of just take you through a tour of my eyeshadow palette collection. So without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, so to start off with, we have my Modern Renaissance, my Norvina, Subculture, and Sultry palette. This is in the order of which I purchased these palettes. Modern Renaissance is actually one of my first higher-end eyeshadow palettes. And I've used, out of all of these, this is the one, of course, that I've used the most out of. I've made a pretty, I don't think it shows up on camera, but I made a pretty good sized dent in Tempera, Vermeer, and Bon Fresno. And I'm just starting to get a little bit of a dent in Golden Ochre. So those are my ABH eyeshadow palettes. So then I guess we'll take the next largest group and the Too Faced palettes that I own. So I own the White Chocolate Chip palette, the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette, the Too Faced Natural Matte, the Chocolate Gold, the Semi Sweet, the Glitter Bomb palette, the Sweet Peach palette, and the Chocolate Bar palette. Out of all of these, the Chocolate Bar is definitely my most used by now. I actually project panned it, air quotes, for the month of September and part of October of this year. So I made a pretty good pan, pretty decent pan in white chocolate, a little tiny pan in salted caramel, and a tiny little baby pan in semi-sweet. So I'm pretty happy with the progress that I made and the amount that I used this palette. So there's those palettes. I would say out of the my next favorite of these would be the Just Peachy Mattes. I really do like that palette. I just haven't reached for it that often in the last couple of months. So then next would be my Tarte palettes. This is my Tarteist Pro. It is one of my most loved palettes in my collection. You can see I've actually hit pan on Classic. And I don't think it shows up well on camera, but I'm actually pretty close on Innocent as well. But yes, I do love this palette quite a bit, and I've gotten quite a bit of use out of this. So then I've got this little Man-Eater palette. I have Tartelette Toasted, Tartelette in Bloom, the Tartelette Matte palette, and then this is the Volume 2 Face Shaping palette. I know a lot of people have said that they don't like this palette. I do actually really like this. I like the fact that you've got a bronzer, blush, and highlight. I think in the original one it was just different shades of like bronzer contour. So there we go there. And then some miscellaneous. I've got this Lorac Desert Sunset palette that I've gotten a decent amount of use. I would like to get more use out of this palette than I have. Then my Born to Run palette that I absolutely adore and have gotten quite a bit of use out of it since I purchased. And then my Urban Decay Electric palette. This palette's no longer available, but this palette right here, and where is it? This palette, my Too Faced Natural Matte. These two are my first high-end palettes that I ever bought, and they're about, this is actually a repurchase. This is the I went ahead and repurchased this at one point, but this one I've had for about 2 years now, so I've had it for quite a while now. But I feel like it's still good. It still performs the same way it did. And then I have the Natasha Denona Tropic palette, which I like. If I had a choice between purchasing the Tropic palette and any of her other palettes at a sale price, I probably would have gone with the like the Sunset palette that's available now, or the Gold palette. I like their color schemes. I find their color schemes more wearable on a day-to-day basis. This palette is just a lot of like peaches and then like a bright green shimmer, and it's not as wearable on an everyday basis for me. And then this is like this is my most recent eyeshadow purchase, is the Vaults collection for Dose of Colors. I haven't even tried these palettes yet. I am very excited to do so. This pretty cool one is their newest addition to their collection besides the holiday, what is it, Snow Angel palette. I did not purchase that one. It just wasn't something that I felt was necessary, but I have been wanting to try all of these palettes, and it was just such a good buy, especially because I had the 20% off coupon at the time. So very excited to dig into these palettes at some point in the next week. All right, so that is it for my high-end palettes. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Bye. All right, and here is a quick look at my drugstore, or more affordable, I shouldn't necessarily just drugstore, but more affordable brand eyeshadow palette collection. So the first one that I'll go with is just this like random one, is the Revealed palette. I have done a full review on this palette on my channel, so if you want to know more about it, you can just go ahead and take a look. But this is just a plain neutral palette that's kind of a dupe for the Urban Decay 1 and 2. So there's that palette. And then I have my ColourPop palettes here. I have the Good Sport, I have Dream Street, Yes Please, the Zodiac, and then the Disney Designer Collection, the It's a Princess Thing palette. So those are my ColourPop ones. And then I have my Juvia's Place palette. So this is the newest one that I have, the Saharan 2. I have the Masquerade Mini, the Magic Mini, the Zulu, the Nubian 2, the Deuce, the Afric, and the Saharan. So those are all of my Juvia's Place palettes. Then for Makeup Revolution, I have these two palettes. These are their Jewel collection. These are actually, sorry, I'm waving the camera around trying to open this. These are actually really pretty palettes. This one down here, what is this one? This is Opulent. There's a third one of these that I didn't get, but this one, this shadow broke in transit to my house, so I ended up repressing it, and it works just fine. The top row of these palettes have kind of like an almost dry, wet texture to them, so they are super creamy. I can't really do this. There we go. But they're really pretty. I haven't used these palettes a ton, so other than the top row, I can't really speak to the quality too well on these palettes. Oh, hello, you can see me in the mirror. But yeah, but they're really pretty, so I am excited to break them out and use them a little bit more. So, and then of course I have the Emily Edit palette, the Once. I have gotten quite a bit of use out of this palette. I do really like this palette. It is not the most highest quality palette in my collection by any means, but I do think for the price, the quality of the shadows are still pretty good, and especially if you are looking for a lot of options with colors and looks wise. So then I have my Morphe palettes. This one was, gosh, I can't even remember what palette these shadows are from anymore. I ended up depotting it, all of the shadows, and putting them into a Z palette and getting rid of all of like the duplicate shadows that I didn't like. It was a pain in the butt to depot this. Like every single matte shadow in the palette broke and had to be repressed. I still don't reach for this that often, which kind of sucks because I did all of this with the hopes that I would reach for these more. And I added, these are Ulta shadows from like a little gift with purchase. I added those thinking that if I added some transition, like a nice transition shades, that I would get more use out of this, and I still haven't gotten much use out of this palette or these shadows. So these were kind of a dud. And then I have the Morphe The Vault collection with Jaclyn Hill. Of course, I have all 4 of the palettes. And then I have the Jaclyn Hill palette. This is another palette that I wish I had gotten more use out of than I have. I find a lot of the shadows in here to be super repetitive and too similar on the eyes to create, you know, for me, like these shades right here, I feel all look the exact same on my lid, or just so similar that it's, I might as well be using the same shadow. And then like these shades right here are not like, they look a little bit different in the pan and swatched, but I feel like they give, like you can kind of see, I feel like they give almost an identical look as well once they're blended out onto the eye. So, but the shimmers in here, I do really like the shimmers. So that is something that I'd like to work on, is try to get a little bit more use out of this palette. So let's move on. Last stack is my BH Cosmetics palettes. I have the Desert Oasis, the Weekend Festival, the Take Me Back to Brazil, and Take Me Back to Brazil Rio edition. Out of all of these, I'd say the Weekend Festival is my absolute favorite. I adore this palette. I've created quite a few looks with this palette and tutorials, and I think it is just, if you're looking for a palette to add some color to your collection, this is my recommendation. I think the shades in here are colorful. They're super pigmented. You can see right there. You get a variety of colors, and it just, I wish, you know, my first colorful palette was the Urban Decay Electric palette, and don't get me wrong, I love that palette. I have a lot of sentimental feelings about that palette, but I wish this had been something that I had picked up when I was trying to play with color and incorporate more color into my routine, because this has a really nice balance of shimmers and mattes in here with the color, and then it's got some like more safer colors like Escape, Hipster, and stuff, and then Trixie. So yes, I love this palette. Alright, so that is it for my more affordable / drugstore palette collection. Alright, so now you have seen my eyeshadow palette collection. I have just done a declutter of my eyeshadow palettes, so I've already taken those palettes out, and those were not included in this video. I will be doing a separate video showing you all of the products that I will be decluttering over the next couple of months. I expect to have that video up by December because I'd like to have it all in one video. So yeah, that is it. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thank you for watching. Bye!